This is a decision, as you said, made by an appointed state official, the Secretary of State, after no charges filed, after no trial, after no hearing, after no investigation, just on the basis of which she perceived happened on January 6th. All of this tells us that we are awaiting a decision of the Supreme Court of the United States. So Maine, Michigan, California, Colorado, all of those states, either Supreme Courts, the highest court in the land, or various officials are interpreting a clause in the U.S. Constitution, and each is interpreting it differently. Now, there's a principle of law called federal supremacy. And when the federal Constitution is at stake, it can't mean different things in different states. It's got to mean the same thing. State constitutions mean different things in different states. So all of this begs for final and, Chief Justice Roberts, if you're listening, quick resolution so that we all know what the law is and we all know how the 14th Amendment is going to be applied.
Right. Back to Shayna Bellows. I'm wondering how much of this you think is about, this unknown Secretary of State in one of the smallest states in the country. And look, I love the state of Maine. I got married up there. But Shayna Bellows, she's not even a lawyer. All right. She wasn't elected to the job. She was appointed, which is the way it's done up there in Maine. But how much of this do you think is just Shayna Bellows, an unknown, trying to feather her nest for a future political run?
Well, I mean, she did run for office and she did lose. She is former ACLU, which doesn't mean she's a bad person. It just means that's where her
kind of like
lies.
Letitia James, who campaigned on going after Donald Trump.
Correct.
And then ran for governor, unsuccessfully.
Correct. The Letitia James thing we all know about. Donald Trump is going to lose that case at the trial court, and that'll be, in my opinion, overturned by the appellate court. In the meantime, he spent millions in legal fees and thousands of hours consumed in litigation that should never have been brought. In this Maine case, she does have the authority to do this. This is a defect in the system. An individual person should not have this authority. Now, someone in Maine, probably the Trump campaign, will appeal it to the Superior Court, a trial court in Maine, and there will be a hearing again, just like the hearing they had in Colorado. So again, I say, if the Chief Justice is listening, and he probably is, it's time for the Supreme Court to rule on the appeal of the Colorado case and set forth the standards for any disqualification based on the 14th Amendment. In my opinion, that disqualification can't happen without an allegation and a trial and proof of guilt.
Okay, so the million-dollar question, and I asked you this a week ago. When do you think the Supreme Court steps in and makes a ruling that would not only impact all of the primaries, which are coming up fast, we're 17 days away from the Iowa caucuses, but also the general election next November? Otherwise, we're going to deal with this every single week. A new state's going to do this to Trump, and we're going to have to figure out what happens legally next.
Well, the Supreme Court's next conference day, that's the next time the 9 of them sit around a table in the Supreme Court courthouse and decide what cases they're going to hear, is next week, Friday, January 5th. So I expect that we will hear by then which appeals they're taking. There are other things we're waiting for, not the least of which applies to former President Trump. But this one they have to rule on quickly because, as you say, ballots are usually printed in January. So I think we're going to get a very quick decision in Colorado. In my opinion, Colorado will be reversed and standards will be set down.
Yes, and as we've said before, Judge, if the Supreme Court doesn't do anything, that's their ruling. Right?
Correct. And
they're going to have to put their hand on the Donald Trump scale at some point here. And by not doing something, that is doing something.